Hello lovely people. Yes, I am back with another book haul fairly quickly after my last book haul. Can we tell the book buying ban is over? 'Cause I sure can.
Sophie Vlogs.
I'm not going to waffle and beat around the bush. I'm just going to dive into it because I've been buying some books again, haven't I? Yes, I have. I'll start with two books that I've already talked about briefly in my autumn TBR video. The first one is the book that I'm currently reading, which is The Secrets of Jinsei by Alma Alexander. This is Matt at MCS Books' favourite book, and I'm reading it because I'm super excited and I'm hoping it's going to be wonderful. It is set in medieval China. We are following a number of women from different walks of life, and they are bonded together by this bond of Jin-Shei, which from what I can tell from the tiny amount that I have read so far, is a bond of friendship, but also more like sisterhood, and it comes with it both joys, but then also like obligations and stuff like that. One of the women who is involved in this sisterhood becomes Dragon Empress, and that has real ramifications for this friendship and this bond. I think it's going to be like an atmospheric book that's going to take its time, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm only 3 chapters in, but I'm having a lovely time. And yeah, I'm just hoping it's going to be wonderful. It's that time period, medieval China, that I haven't read about before, so I'm super excited. The other book I mentioned in my autumn TBR is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevado. Yes, I did pick this up in between the time of filming my last haul and then posting my last haul, which was not that long a gap. But I watched Jade at Jaded Reader's mid-year book freakout tag, and she spoke so highly of this book that it was the kick up the bum I needed to finally pick it up. This follows Emily, who wants to be a chef. She's 17 years old and she has a young child, and I believe it's sort of like just following her on this journey. I love books about food. I know that Elizabeth Acevado is a poet, and I'm hoping that it's going to be the most beautiful book about food that's just going to make me want to like cook and eat and all of those glorious things, and I cannot tell you enough how excited I am for it. I'm going to go through the rest of my fiction and then non-fiction. I picked up 2 books by Katharine Kerr. The first one is The Silver Mage, which is the final book in the original Devilry cycle series, which I think means that this is book 15. I love these covers so much more than the covers I have. The covers I have look like really bad, like 2000s video game covers, and that's probably because they were. But I love this cover so much more. I won't go into too much the plot of this one, but suffice to say, the Devilry cycle, I've been talking about it a lot on my channel because I've been trying to finish the series. It's like a Celtic knotwork where it has recurring souls that are reborn life after life, and it's an epic fantasy series. It's got very classic like fantasy like races and stuff like that. I really love this recurring life thing that runs throughout, and so say that this book is somehow going to link back into the first book of the series, bring it all to a close. I'm very excited to finally finish it. She says that this year, as if she knew what I was doing, Katharine Kerr released a new book set in the Devilry World. How much is it related to the original series? I don't know, but it's got a bloody beautiful cover, doesn't it? This is sort of fire. I have not read the back because I don't want to read the back and spoil anything about how this ends, which I don't think it would because that would be bad marketing. But just in case, haven't done it. But I was like, Sophie, this the year that you are making an effort to finish this epic 15-book series, she's released a new book, you have to buy it. So again, don't know much about it. Probably going to be tying into these lives again. I'm so excited. It's a beautiful cover. Yes. After that is a bit more fantasy. I also picked up Across the Nightingale Floor by Lian Hearn. This is a Japanese history-inspired fantasy. I know that it has a warlord who has this thing called the Nightingale Floor, and essentially to stop him being assassinated, it's this floor which is even the slightest step on it will make this song, hence the Nightingale Floor. Our main character is from a very peaceful people. I think something terrible happened because essentially he's going on a journey of revenge. I don't know anything more than that. Someone on Booktube, couldn't tell you now, but someone on Booktube put this on my radar. I remember that much, if nothing else. And I've heard that it's a really good piece of fantasy, so I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to see what it's like. It's the first book in a series, so if I like it, there's a lot more to explore. We shall see. Another fantasy book is An Accident of Stars by Meadows. This one's on my radar because I'm making an effort to read and buy, specifically purchase, more books by trans and non-binary authors because I want to make sure that, like, in light of recent fuckery by some very big names in the publishing industry, cough cough, we know who I mean, I want to make sure that I'm financially supporting authors that I want to financially support. Meadows is genderqueer. This book follows Saffron Coulter, who stumbles through a hole in reality and finds herself trapped in Cana, a magical realm on the brink of civil war. So she's an accidental world walker, and she might be the key to saving this place. I think it sounds really intriguing. It is, again, it's part of a series, so again, if I like this one, I can explore further. But I'm super interested, and it's a little bit of a chunky one, and I quite like dipping into like chunky fantasy series every now and then and really immersing myself in a world. So I'm super excited. Next up is If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. I love the cover of this. I think it's really, really beautiful. This one's on my radar because of Monica over at Monica Kim. Booktube influences me heavily, I know. This is set in Korea, and I believe we're following 4 different women. And I think we're kind of looking at like contemporary Korean ideas of beauty and the ways that each of these women sort of have to like struggle with that, and not just beauty as well, but also like some of the real struggles that are happening in like contemporary Korea and stuff like that. I don't know anything about that, but Monica sang its praises so highly that I thought it sounded really interesting. I think I read in a review that it in some ways feels a little bit like 4 separate short stories that are then sort of like weaved together. That intrigues me as well, so I'm hoping that this is going to be really interesting. Potentially not the lightest of reads if we're dealing with some really heavy topics, but I think these are topics that I want to learn more about and to understand better, and I'm hoping it's just going to be like a really fabulous book to do so with. Transitioning to some middle grade, I picked up Inkheart by Cornelia Funke, specifically this beautiful cover. I love KJ Mountford, the illustrator. He does a lot of children's book covers, and I think they're all beautiful. As soon as I saw this announced, I was like, I've got to, because I've been meaning to read Inkheart for so long. It's one of those classic fantasy series which I know a lot of people grew up reading and absolutely loved, and I've just never read. So I thought, hey, let's do it. The concept of this is that this girl, her father hasn't read to her since her mother's death, and then like something happens, and essentially it's revealed that like when her father reads stories aloud, the characters come to life. I think that sounds so fabulous and so interesting, and I'm just really excited to finally know like what all the hype is and that sort of thing. I'm hoping it's going to be absolutely magical and wonderful. The next book is my transition into a portion of these books which I didn't buy myself. They were sort of given to me by my mum. We have like a book exchange when we finish books, and sometimes if you don't want to necessarily keep them, we give them to the other one to read, and then they can do with them what they will. So the first of those is Shadow Sea by Peter Bunzl. This is the 4th book in the Cogheart series, which is a really fun children's book series. Essentially we follow a girl called Lily. There are these things called mechanimals, which are mechanical animals. She has a mechanimal called Malkin, and a friend called Robert, and each book they go on sort of different adventures, and each book kind of has like a different focus. Like the one before this had like a bit of a circus theme. This one, I'm guessing, has got like a submarine underwater theme. I think that these are really great classic children's series. I really like the way that each book sort of introduces kids to topics. Sometimes they have like little glossaries in them which sort of like explain words to kids, so you'll kind of see the way that like kids will learn about a topic as they read each book. They're really lovely. She also gave me 2 poetry books, first of which is American Primitives by Mary Oliver. I loved Mary Oliver's Blue Horses collection that I read. I got way too emotionally attached to it. I'm really excited to read more of her poetry. I just think it's so beautiful. She also gave me The Built Moment by Lavinia Greenlaw. The first half of this poetry collection is exploring her father's journey with dementia, and then the second half of this poetry collection is sort of exploring like grief and also like our attitudes towards death and stuff like that. I think it's going to be a little bit of like an emotional one. I've never read any of Lavinia Greenlaw's poetry. I didn't really enjoy her book, The Importance of Music to Girls, but I also read it when I was very young, so I might have been too young for it. But I did really love her interpretation of Troilus and Crusade. So we'll see. Third time, how do I fall on it? I don't know. She also gave me 2 non-fiction books. This is A Woman Lived Here, Remembering London's Remarkable Women by Alison Vale. In the UK, we have blue plaques that are put on like buildings of importance that sort of tell you like so-and-so lived here while they did X type thing. Less than a 5th of those are about women. So this is Alison Vale sort of writing back against that and coming up with alternative blue plaques and sort of it's one to read in bits and pieces, not like all the way through in one go, but I'm hoping it's going to introduce me to some really cool women from history. On a similar vein, we've got Heroines and Harridans, the fanfare of fabulous females by Sandi Toksvig, illustrated by Sandi Nightingale. This looks like quite a humorous and fun look at women throughout history who've maybe been slightly sidelined and forgotten. I had a quick flick through and I recognised some, but there's a lot that I don't know, so I'm excited to just sort of like hopefully learn about some more cool women from history in like a fun and humorous manner. My dad also lent me a book, which is Millennium by Tom Holland. This is Tom Holland looking at the Dark Ages, which is a term which I know is a controversial term in many historian circles, because they're not Dark Ages, we know a lot about them. They're just, yes. But yes, I've read a number of Tom Holland books by now, usually lent to me by my dad, but they've all been Roman history, so I'm interested to see sort of like, I think this is like a European Dark Ages sort of focus. We'll see what it's like, I'll report back. Finally, 3 non-fiction books that I bought myself. The first of these is Fabulosa, the story of Polari, Britain's secret gay language, by Paul Baker. Kind of what it says on the tin. Polari is this language that gay men used to speak to each other back when homosexuality was illegal. I think it sounds really interesting. There are a number of words which are still used today that a lot of people don't realise the roots of. And I really enjoy reading queer history, as we all know, and I think this sounds really interesting, and I cannot wait to explore it further. Penultimately, we have The Ways of My Grandmothers by Beverley Hungry Wolf. Beverley Hungry Wolf is from the Blackfoot tribe. The back says this is a captivating tapestry of personal and tribal history, legends and myths, and the wisdom passed down through generations of women. This extraordinary book is also a priceless record of the traditional skills and ways of an ancient culture that is vanishing all too fast. One area that I've identified in my reading that could do with more conscious effort put into is reading books by Indigenous peoples. I'm aware that the Indigenous people of North America are not like one homogenous group. I'm also trying to make sure I put the effort in to ensure that I'm reading books from a variety of different tribes and that sort of thing. So I'm really excited to read this and see what it's like. On a similar vein, the final book that I have is Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge and the Teachings of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. This is sort of nature writing, but I became aware that I was reading a lot of nature writing that is sort of very like UK British focused, and I thought it would be really good if I could expand my focus of nature writing and bring in more voices from other perspectives, and specifically in an American context bring in Indigenous and Native voices. I've heard so much good things about Robin Wall Kimmerer. She has another book called Gathering Moss, which sounds so fabulous. So I'm super interested to dive into this, and I think it's just going to be a really wonderful read. That's everything I have to talk about. I am really gaining pins and needles in my foot, so I'm going to wrap this up before I can no longer feel my foot. I would love to know if you have read any of these, if you have thoughts on any of those, all of the usual jazz. Please do leave a comment down below. I love to hear from you all. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wish you a very lovely week, and I'm going to see you next time for something different.